Hi, this is David Baumblatt from Terabint Leadership. Thanks for joining. Last video, we had video problems, so the video got cut short. We'll see how it works this time. Today's episode, MAGA is falling apart. Absolutely. Even what happened with Massey in, I think it was Kentucky or Tennessee, I think Kentucky, and this guy, and I forgot how to pronounce his last name, this military veteran, so on, he won, and people say, see, you can't beat MAGA. You can't beat Trump. I'd say you probably can't beat Israel. That's probably the bigger thing. Whoever has Israel on their side, that's probably where my money's at. Also, it shows the leadership too. Like I said, they're not really teaching leadership anymore, particularly in the military. It's followership. You think Ed is going to be a great leader? No, he's going to be a follower. That's why they picked him. And remember what I said before too, that I don't believe, especially now in the last 2 years of my attempt to get on social media, and of course, my platform is political in nature. I said before, I do not believe you can generally get ahead on whatever social media or gaining influence, particularly in America. We'll just stick to America. If your agenda is political or leadership, philosophical, all those topics that go one-on-one in terms of influencing people, unless you pass through the gatekeepers. If you want to go on social media, have a baking, how to bake cupcakes or hunting channel or sports channel, as long as it doesn't get into politics, doesn't get into leadership, doesn't get into religion, those sensitive topics that influence us. Interesting, it just comes to my mind in Singapore. Singapore has a law that there is no freedom of speech when it comes to religion, politics, homosexuality or sexuality, and race, unless it's in the positive graces of the government. Why? Those are sensitive topics. So it's the same thing in America. So anyway, how did Ed get to where he is? The machine, the Republicans, the Democrats do it too, but I would say probably Israel, they'll pick their candidate. So he has to have, or she has to have a good background, scrub background, fit the mold. Once that's done, that candidate's on a one-way ticket. And that is, you do what they say, you answer, you follow the orders, and that's it. And that's what our politicians are. And we got a few people at the top running the show, and everyone else just follows the order. But when people, again, brag that you see Trump is unstoppable, I think Trump made a pact with Israel and the Jews, or whatever you want to call it. And that's probably why he's in power. Because why? I think MAGA, which had started out as nationalism, and this happens in leadership too. We got to get to the videos here, but I want to make sure it's leadership. It doesn't matter whether you get married, a partnership, a corporation. It's always good to reiterate frequently, what is our mission? What is our objective? What do we stand for? A lot of times companies need to do this. If they don't reassess and they don't reshift, they will be out of business. It's the same thing like couples. What's the reason? So the point being is if you don't see how MAGA has shifted from nationalism to globalism, then you're just not seeing it. It's so obvious. And the point being is once they're globalists like the Democrats, and then it just shows what type of nation do we have in America. We work for the globalists. We're going to do a quick video. Hopefully it works on, what the hell is the guy's Charlie Kirk, when he was a little bit naive about the power of the corporations. What do I keep saying? The globalist corporations run us. The Democrats and the Republicans work for them. That's why sooner or later they all look very the same. And like I said, if you think Donald Trump's very different, not really, he's coming right back. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. We'll see. Let's do some news though, but meaning we'll see where this country goes. But I'm telling you, it's going to get worse. Anyway, let me do a quick share screen here. Let's go on this. 1 second. Let me get to here. And we're going to start out. This is 1 second. Let me do a shout out though, and this goes before I forget. We're going to talk about this guy Joe Page, but if Shane is on here and Ken Sorensen, thanks so much for the emails. I appreciate the emails. You'll see what I'm about to say on here, but let's go. Let's step this one by one. First, we have Gorka. This guy Gorka, British guy. Well, anyway, it's interesting. So he's blocked me. So what does that mean? He probably knows who I am, and he's blocked me before. This is my 4th X account. And so he's blocked me. So it just shows he probably knows who I am. So what does this mean? Let's go to the next one. I showed you this one before. Hopefully everyone can see this. So this same guy, Gorka, it's weird. He requested a free, when I first came out, this would have been September of 2023. He's like, hey, send me a copy of your book. I sent him an ebook on email. He read it, and then he blocks me. But anyway, looks like Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, we talked about it. But anyway, I just found out he's blocked me also again on X. I wouldn't be surprised if this guy's labeled me yet again as a domestic terrorist, meaning he's part of it. This is our government. Very strange. This is now where I said, this is where MAGA is going globalist. Now, if you're liberal on here and you're like, hey, David, that's so racist. The difference between me is the diversity. Let me say it. I want to be very clear on this to say, well, David, you're a leader. Then what would you do? It's very simple. In America right now, if you're a liberal, a conservative, a Democrat, Republican, we've got to come to the conclusion we have passed the Rubicon. There's no coming back. And so you could have either the big evil or the lesser of the two evils. I'm talking to the Democrats. The point being is these globalists are going to destroy us. You're going to see it. If there's two, I've said this before, if there's two paradigms that keep going, it's globalization and technology. They come together. This could be in biblical prophecies as well. This is the path that the globalist corporations, the globalist elites are going to take us, meaning we're all done for. I don't care whether you're white, black, this or that, we're all done. So that's the bigger evil. Or you could take the lesser evil, which I'm going to say, and that is we are in a dysfunctional marriage. I'm not like Charlie Kirk where I want to control you. That's part of the reason where violence came. The point is we have to admit that it's probably time for a divorce, meaning America, let's just split. That's probably the best way to avoid conflict and violence. And so if you're like, David, I think your rhetoric is very racist, and I think a country should be with all types of, then do it. Then it doesn't matter anymore. It's for the same reason that people are leaving blue states and going to red states. More and more Americans don't really care anymore about America being 50 states altogether. Let it split. The Native Americans, you want your old territory back, or you want some of, there you go. There could be blacks, there could be liberals. The point is we have crossed the boundary. And I'm telling you, if we don't cross, and I predicted this with Trump, the only way this country is really going to come together is through a sense of militarized fascism. I'm okay with fascism, but it's a different topic what I'm saying. What I'm saying is let freedom go, and America first is a day late, dollar short. It's going to be state first. And let the state start running it, and that will be a sense of diversity. There'll be and America will split. America will split into 3, 4, 5 parts, and there you go. Because at the end of the day, a lot of Americans really don't care about what's going on in Iran, in Afghanistan. And if you told me California, California, Washington, and Oregon, whatever, was going to split, and then Texas was going to split, and they were going to have a different ideology, whatever, liberal, most Americans at this point in time, we don't care. We just don't care. So either there's two ways it's going to happen. Either one, there's going to be a form of a revolution where state politics is going to supersede federal politics and law as well, and the country's going to split. That's what I advocate. It's possible a peaceful divorce. If you don't advocate that and you continually say we have to come together, come together, come together, the way it's going to come together is through technology, force, and militarized. That's the only way it's going to come together. It's like a dysfunctional marriage where people want to kill each other. You either need to let them divorce, or you're going to have to keep them in there in such a strict, regimented, zero freedom path. I mean, that's where we're going. So again, we'll go on this, but a lot of people may or may not understand what I'm saying. Give it time, you will. It's going to happen like this. But anyway, this is an example of what I'm saying. So we come here to these people are all like God and country. These are the typical MAGA. They said, this is what we're fighting for. Okay. And then I make this quick statement. Does race and ethnicity of the baby have anything to do with this? Now, if you're a liberal, you'd say absolutely not. Everyone, we're all human beings. Good luck with that. There's no country on earth that does that. There's no country on earth that does that. None. Oh, except the Western. But if you're MAGA, they'll also say, well, race doesn't matter. As long as the baby comes from rich parents, they don't care. As long as the money, Vivek Ramaswamy, as long as there's money, they don't care about race. Well, either one is not going to work, people. So if you're a liberal and you're like, David, I like you, but you're a racist, I would just say, well, first of all, I could tell you probably never lived in the non-Western world. If you think I'm racist, don't even consider going to places like China or India. You won't survive there. But I would say then we have to do two things. Then we just have to split. And that's what I advocate. Otherwise, Trump may militarize, and I predicted this, he may militarize the government and force fascism on us, and it's going to get violent. Like I said, it's so diverse in America right now. We're either going to go violent, or maybe you can allow the states in a peaceful separation. Don't think so? I've said before, you're going to see things you've never seen before. Keep going. But anyway, the topic of race, yeah, it's important. We have to have courage to talk about this. And I've said multiracial societies don't work, never have, not in overseas and non-Western world. So what do? Let it split. Just let it split and let different states and different ideologies take over, but it just is not going to work. All right, let's go to this one. Yeah, this is a great example here. This is a West Pointer. Hopefully, he's ignoring me. He knows me. And this is the point. This is the typical MAGA Michelle. She's like, this is the living manifestation of Dr. King's dream. Well, first of all, I'm not a big fan of Dr. Martin Luther King. That's number one. The guy was a communist. Go back to J. Edgar Hoover. It's kind of like South Africa, Nelson Mandela, communist. But anyway, the content of your character and the color of your skin, I've said many times, it's an absolute insult to talk to people about race as skin color. That's all we are. So what are Asian people? Yellow people? That's all we are. There's a lot more to being an African person besides having black skin. It's DNA. But anyway, back to that thing about these. And so this is MAGA. MAGA just thinks it's awesome as long as they're rich. But my question is, let me go back to this. My question is this. It's very simple. If we have like Obama, if there's a black president, we think it's great. Okay, well then have a black senator, even better. Okay, 2 black senators. Where does it stop? Where does this diversity stop? And the reason I say this is I never had this ideology until I left America and I lived in the non-Western world like China. You don't have a clue how racist those societies are. But it makes you question, if you think these multiracial societies are great, I want you to give me an example of a country ever that was successful, that was multiracial, ever. You might say Singapore. That's a good one. I'll do an example. Do you like Singapore? I agree with you. Let's do it, because I guarantee it's not multiracial like you think it is. So it's a common sense question, Leadership 101. If you think multiracial societies are great, I want you to give me an example of a country, past, present, or perhaps I guess you're dreaming of the future, that is not only multiracial, but successful. There's none. There's none. And so this force. So what do I think about that? If you're like, well, David, I'm a black American. Well, what are you going to do to me? I don't care. I'm splitting. That's what I'm saying. You can have your freedom. But if we don't split, it's going to get very dangerous. You're going to see. Anyway, let's keep going to this one. This is going to be a controversial one. A lot of people are going to disagree with me on what this happens, but this is leadership too. This is feminism. Now, I don't mind if you're a woman and you want to be a feminist, but if you're a feminist, that means you're treated like a man. But there's a lot, and I'm a big favor of freedom of speech, what you're about to see what happened. But that means I get freedom of speech too, meaning people could say negative things about me. That's fine. There's a story, a background with this woman though. This is important topics in terms of what's going on. Her name's Gretchen Smith. She blocked me last time. She has we help veterans. She's a former Air Force woman, which I'll do another video on it. There's a lot of women in the military that have turned into actual or absolute sexual deviants, whores in the military. You've been there, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, she blocked me on one. She had like code of honor for vets, helping vets out. And I was like, hey, can you help me out? And she blocked me. The weirdest thing, all I said is, can you help me out? So anyway, her ex came across my feed and she had an interesting picture on. And guess what I did? I used freedom of speech. But freedom of speech is a boomerang, and it came back to me. But notice the Trump derangement syndrome. It also triggered a lot of people, what I've said. I stand by it. It's freedom of speech. Anyway, this is what happened. It's good to learn about this. So great. So she posts this picture of herself. So what do I think? It's freedom. It's her freedom. You do what you want. Do I want? And she's got like 500,000 subscribers. She wants attention. She shows her tits out there. That's not what I want a conservative woman to do. My mom, my girlfriend, my wife, my daughter, this and that. But it's her freedom to dress like that in public to get attention. It's totally her freedom. And it's my freedom to give freedom of speech. And this is what I said. I said, you post like a whore and you'll be treated like a whore. And I'm telling you, the simps came. They're like this and this and this and this. And guess what? Well, that's free speech. You can do what you want. But I'm going to tell you, to the American people, we have a major problem with this whole feminine issue. And I'm telling you, to the women, if you want to be feminist, but you're going to be treated like men. Or you can be traditional women and you'll be protected, but you don't have a power as men. But you can't get your cake and eat it as well. But there's still a double standard, and we all know it. But anyway, let's keep going on this. And talking about whores, interesting, this came up out of the blue too. Let me see if everyone can see it. Just totally out of the blue. This girl, Abigail, you see Abigail, she's a whore. She came across me, and I was about to just delete or go through, and I found out, look who's here. This guy, Chun Li. I don't know if you can see him down here. See, yeah. Chun Li is the Chinese consulate general in New York. So he follows her. And guess what? Don't fool yourself. Asian women worship white men, very similar to Asian men worship white women. I mean, she's an absolute whore. It is what it is. So it's her freedom to do that. But I found it interesting. The Chinese consulate general of New York follows her. You know, not me. I don't have time to waste following women like this. But it's her freedom to be a whore. It's her freedom. But if you be a whore, then it's our freedom as men to judge. And oh, yes, everyone judges. That's your freedom. People are judging me right now. That's your freedom. And we judge other people. But anyway, let's keep going on this. This is an interesting one, too. It just shows America. This is, I guess you could say Hollywood. This is James Wood. Hopefully you could see it. He's got like 5 million something viewers. He blocked me. I just said, hey, James, I'm a military veteran. Can you support me? Boom. Thanks, James. This is a guy who's earned millions of dollars in Hollywood, and I'm sure he loves to say how much he supports military veterans. This is a little bit of the fakeness I keep talking about in terms of the MAGA and stuff like that. It really is very fake. So let's go on the last part. We got Joe. 1 second here, make sure everyone can see. So out of the blue, we'll just do this. Joe Pags, I don't know him too much. He runs a radio station, hundreds of thousands. I made a comment. MAGA's falling apart. I think everyone can see that. This is where I'm going to thank the people on the email. He writes me back. He's like, I'm MAGA and I could help you. We'll figure this out. And I wrote him. I've been, you could go back to my ex and see it back and forth. I wrote him this and that. We'll see where it goes. But here's another thing on him right here. And so everyone knows. I'll do the feedback on this. And I said, Joe, I sent you the email, everything. Hopefully everyone can see this. Yeah. I said, I'm just asking 3 things. You could just simply repost. He hasn't done it yet. Just repost my whistleblower allegations. He could have me on as a guest. That would be great. But really, I just want to get to a politician. And I wrote him on the email. So we're going to see if Joe does anything for me. At the very least, Joe, at the very least, could you just take your finger and repost? I mean, again, that's what I'm saying. I don't do this with MAGA people because MAGA people, or not. I don't do this with liberal people because I assume they don't support military veterans or what. I could be wrong, but MAGA, they back the blue, they back the military, that's kind of who I am. I think we all should back whistleblowers. Can't even repost. Okay, well, we'll see. Like I said, the jury's out. I've sent him a couple emails. Shane, Shane's on here. Shane sent Joe, or I think, yeah, he sent Joe an email back. So we'll see. But it was very simple, Joe, if you're listening on here. If you really don't want to help me out at all, per se, you could just repost and that's it. 2, the best is I'm sure you have an email to a politician. And this is so everyone knows. I've emailed thousands upon thousands of politicians. In fact, if you go back to my video, the only politician that responded out of the blue, this was years ago before I got on social, was a Democrat. I gave the story. A lot of the paperwork, I saved a lot of documents, but my first X account that really blew up fast I had it saved in there and it's been locked out and I can't get it. I lost the password. But anyway, I had the documents. It was a congressman from Florida, Democrat named Soto. If I remember correctly, S-A-T-O. I still should have his paperwork. He had an intern underneath him who worked in the Wounded Warrior Foundation, so probably a military veteran. He wrote me on email. He's like, hey, David, I'm under Congressman Soto. He sent me your email. He goes, how can I help you out? I said, thanks so much. The only person, a Democrat. I said, thanks so much. We could do this. He goes, how about this? The next time you come to America, let's meet and talk about it. I said, I think you're missing the concept here. I'm not comfortable going back to America. I'd like to know why my passport's flagged. Can we do an online meeting or something like that? And I don't know. He never responded back to me. But anyway, it is, I should say, the only politician or one of his staffers at least. So I never got an email from Congressman Soto. Again, look it up. Democrat from Florida. I don't know if he's still there. Not from him, but from one of the people working under him, Wounded Warrior Foundation. I forgot this guy's name. I still should have the text. And he says, yeah, Congressman Soto, forward me your email. And so I think the guy had good intentions. He wanted to help me out. But I don't know why. He didn't want to do like a telephone call or an online call. He wanted me to meet me in Washington, D.C. there. And I was like, no, I'm not comfortable. Let's just talk on the phone. But anyway, who knows? Maybe I'm making assumptions. But he did respond to me. No one from anyone else. Okay, we're going to do one final thing because this goes in today's video right here, which is interesting. And it kind of shows MAGA. And that is right here. This kind of goes into China, what we're going to talk about a little bit. So we have Hegseth, which is a Secretary of War. And what does Pete Hegseth say? He's like, Marxism are the enemies. No, not political opponents, but real enemies. Well, you know how I feel about China. China transitioned from Marxism to fascism, but whatever. I mean, they're still communists. But what I'm trying to do is we're going to do some videos, but MAGA before. China evil, China bad, China evil, China bad. Now, oh, we love China. We're going to make so much money off China. And what did I predict from day one that I came up? They love China. Why? Who do we really work for? In fact, let's play this video right now. Let me play this video right now so everyone's got it. This is from Charlie Kirk. I would have assumed Charlie Kirk knew this. If you read my book, immediately what I said, this is it. And that's what I'm saying. China is not the number one enemy. What's the number one enemy? The globalist government, the globalist corporations, without a doubt. Anyway, this is Charlie that hopefully everyone should know this by now, that the corporations are powerful. Yeah, let me say, before we do this, people have still said the people running the world are the FBI and the CIA. I'm like, oh my God. No. Now, the people running the world, they need muscle. Where's that muscle coming from? That's coming from military, that's coming from special operations, that's coming from the FBI, that's coming from the CIA. Absolutely. You need henchmen, you need muscle behind it. Absolutely. You need the enforcers. But who are the brains? Who's controlling? Who has the money? Who has the power? It ain't the FBI and the CIA, folks. Follow the money. Corporations, these private entities that are filthy beyond. They are so rich we can't even track it. Like you go past the corporations, then you get to the BlackRock, Vanguard, then you go behind sovereign funds. You don't even know who's controlling this money. They are the ones that are ruling this world. Anyway, here's Charlie Kirk.
Society believes something that might not be true. Who is more powerful, the IRS or Google? And I immediately said the IRS. Google doesn't have the power of audits. Google can't put you in prison. You know, all these IRS can do all those sorts of things, right? And IRS can wreck your business. And Tucker retorted with a really interesting thing. He said, well, but Google can't shut down your business. Google can manipulate entire society to believe something that might not be true. And it hit me about a month and a half ago when I was I had my laptop open and I had my Gmail account watching YouTube, you know, on my Google Calendar.
Yeah.
And I said, my goodness, they know everything about me. The IRS doesn't know crap. The IRS knows a couple bank statements, you know, my taxes and my bank statements. That's a very small picture of my actual activity. And I thought to myself when I had this computer open, I said, what if one engineer in Google was flipping through Twitter and saw one of my tweets praising President Trump? And he said, screw this Charlie Kirk guy. And he goes to work tomorrow and he decides to look at everything about me. Do we know that's not happening? That's really scary. That's more power than the NSA has.
let me make a couple comments. It reminds me a little like West Pointer. It's fine. I get a lot of negative feedback on social media. It comes with the territory, free speech. But the biggest thing is when you listen to these people that are so uneducated, it's just really retarded. Anyway, relating to this, let's start out with the military. People have said, "Oh, you didn't make a career in the military. You got out after 5 years. Couldn't handle it. Couldn't make it. You weren't the good officer." That person has no clue about West Point. It just doesn't. If you understand West Point, and on average, West Point is the creme de la creme of the officer corps. I will do interesting headset went to print. I should do a video on the difference between the academies, the military schools, the Ivy League schools to become officers. I know it. Again, I'm the 12th person in the history who's been through 2 programs. I understand how it works. Generally speaking, the West Pointers are the best. There's also a little bit jealousy with them. I don't even wear my ring. This is not a wedding ring, nor it is obviously it's not the West Point ring. I'm my pride of West Point has seriously dropped. But anyway, it is the creme de la creme of the officer corps going to West Point. Now, news to you. The majority of the West Pointers who decide to make 20-year careers in the military on average are not the best West Pointers. This is the reason. No, the best West Pointers on average, I'm not tooting my horn, were the guys who, because leaving the Army was a little different than leaving the FBI. Like if I had to make a career in the government, FBI or Army, I'm FBI. I'll do stories on it. That's why leaving the FBI, think about it. How many people have you probably met? Even headset, it's very common to meet military men who served in the military and left, to include West Point. Not so much in the FBI. You make a career. But anyway, back to the military. On general, the highest resumes or West Pointers, they're gone. They do their 5 years and they say, I want to be a civilian because I want freedom. I want more money. I just want a better life. It just is what it is. And even the ones who stay in there, they don't make general for leadership. They make general for followers. It's an inside joke with West Point, but the people are like, you must have not been the top-rated officer to get. These people don't understand how it works in the military and West Point. Now, let's talk about Charlie Kirk, who just said about Google and stuff. Now we're talking about the FBI and the CIA. Hard to break it to you, but the best FBI and the CIA people, they're working for the corporations. Remember, when I was with Boeing, now I was illegally terminated, and I was doing a good job. I was up for promotion, but I didn't want to quit Boeing. I just had some, there's 2 different things. There's competence and there's morality, corruption. Now, we can talk about Boeing in terms of their morality. Their competence, are you kidding me? Do you see what Boeing has done? In fact, who is Boeing? Talk about German engineering. I was very lucky to get into Boeing. It was a great job. The founder was called Boeing, a German national, born and raised in Germany, educated in Switzerland, moved to America, saw the Wright brothers, remember the Wright brothers, and said, that's what I'm going to do. This guy was a powerhouse. In fact, at one time, Boeing was a monopoly. I studied the history because you go in there. Boeing was, remember, I got illegally terminated from Boeing. I didn't quit. The FBI, thanks, but no thanks. I quit. But anyway, Boeing used to be a monopoly. Boeing used to have 3 companies combined. Boeing, the airplane company, United Airlines, as we know, that was Boeing. And then it was Pratt and Whitney, the engines. So they made the engines, they made the airplanes, and then they had the airlines all together. I forgot when the date was. It might have been in the 1950s. It was deemed a monopoly, which is true, and Boeing had to break up into 3 parts. But I'm telling you, if you look at Boeing, now I harp on Boeing's morality. These people are cocksuckers, conflict of interest. But I think we all know there's a difference between a person or a company or something that's extremely smart, extremely capable, but their morality is a problem. There's a morality issue. But in terms of competence, no. These people were making, you talk about rocket science, what these people were doing, whether it's in defense or civil or in NASA space, Boeing is no joke. Anyway, back to my story about the FBI, Google, TikTok, everything. They are infused. Really the best of the best FBI and the CIA are in these corporations. News to you. And who has the power? The FBI or Google? No way. No way. These corporations own us. They rule us. There is just too many conspiracy theories. The people running the world are the FBI and the CIA. If you were in the FBI and the CIA, you would realize these are, generally speaking, above average individuals. But I'm telling you something, even Amazon, I worked in Amazon. When you're in these corporations, these people are, again, I'm not talking about morality. I'm talking about just ingenuity, intelligence, hardworking, get the job done. These corporations, you can look at Jeff Bezos like I do as an immoral person. But wow, talk about, or even Elon Musk. I question Elon Musk's morality, but his ingenuity and competence. I know some FBI guys working for Tesla. It's one of these companies. Anyway, so back to what Charlie Kirk was saying. I was thinking the IRS is so powerful. Oh my God. I consider Charlie Kirk a nice guy, and he was a young guy back then. He just might have not known. Are you out of your mind? The government, and remember, who pays for all this stuff in our government? Who pays for these politicians? It's coming from the private sector, people. Coming from the private sector. These corporations own us. And you saw that. When Donald Trump went to China, he wasn't like, hey, man, I got my CIA head here. I got my FBI head here. Fuck that. Leave those losers back in America. He's like, I want my corporations. That's the power. He went with these top these people run us, own us, and the politicians work for them. End of story. All right, let's go. I see Golden Tulip. Good afternoon to you. Let me take a look. Let's do another video. Let's do this first video real quick here, the upcoming. And this is where Donald Trump, I'm telling you, this Iran war, it's going to be a total shit show, or Donald Trump is going to do some yo-yo thing. He's like, we won. Deal's been reached. We can pull out now. Okay, I guess so. Just retarded. But anyway, let's just watch this video, and then I'll do a comment on it.
A shocking proposal emerging from Tehran. Reports say Iran's parliament is reviewing a bill that could put a $54 million reward on US President Donald Trump. This is not a stray remark, but a legislative discussion that signals a sharp escalation in rhetoric following recent conflict dynamics. According to Iranian lawmaker Ebrahim Azizi, who heads the National Security and Foreign Policy Committee, the proposed bill would require the government to pay any individual or entity that carries out the act. The framing, as reported, is tied directly to retaliation for the killing of Iranian leaders and commanders. The figure, 50 million euros, roughly 54 million US dollars, has drawn immediate global attention. The proposal is part of a broader set of countermeasures being discussed by lawmakers since the start of the March war, indicating that this move sits within a wider strategic and political response framework. Iranian state media reports suggest multiple bills are under consideration, including measures focused on military and security responses. Azizi confirmed these discussions on state television, underscoring that the proposal is being evaluated within formal parliamentary.
Okay, let's just talk about this quick. Now, some people in America are going to be upset or surprised. Are you kidding me? So first, to these dumb MAGA people, we are at war. You use whatever legal terminology you want in America, but when you're in the real world, you bomb people, you kill people, we're at war. Now, I'm not against war. I'm a soldier, and it is what it is. And no, I'm not one of these people that I'm against killing. I'm against violence. It's part of life, but hopefully you have morality on your side. We don't even have to talk about morality. We are at war based on the laws of common sense. and you start killing these people, there's going to be repercussions. So the Iranian government wants to put a $50 million bounty on the head of Netanyahu and Trump. I don't know, what would you do if you were them and we're bombing them, everything? And even with Donald Trump, whether he does it or not, he's making threats now to just level the civilian infrastructure, power grids. We're talking non-military. You do what you want, but I'm telling you, and I warned Americans like this. Now, of course, this bounty is on the political head of Trump and Netanyahu, not on American citizens at large. But this war continues. You're an American citizen walking around overseas. I'm an American, man. You never know. You might get kidnapped and you might get beheaded. And guess what? As much as you think this war is justified from your side, be careful when you're overseas. I say again, what exactly is the mission, this and that? I think this is a war for Israel, but I don't even, there comes a time in life, and again, if you understand my personality, and many times I leave stuff. I quit the FBI. I left America. I'm not that much of a confrontational person. This is why I'm so pissed off that the government has not left me alone. But the point being is you could believe what I'm saying or not. Let's see where this goes. I think it's going to go to total dog shit, this war, meaning it's either going to escalate and get really dangerous, or Trump is going to taco out, which is a horrible adjective for a leader. He's going to taco out and he's going to make it sound like we won the war. But we pissed off people, we've lost face, we've lost money, and we'll see where this thing goes. But make it known, just like Afghanistan, Iraq, it's going to be a total horseshit. But anyway, let's talk how the world is changing, how MAGA is changing. The first thing is, let's keep going back to this corporation. And I want you to know, no, we're first going to talk about how Trump kisses ass to China. But then at the end, I want you to understand what is the difference between China and America. Now, I've said I'm not on the bandwagon of China. What I am on the bandwagon is I am on the bandwagon of National Socialism. You could call it fascism. It has a negative word, but 99% of Americans have no clue what it is. Trump thinks he understands it, but he really doesn't. Trump is still a globalist. Anyway, let's just go to Trump kissing ass to China, because remember the whole MAGA thing before? China's the enemy. Now I guess China's the friend. Most MAGA people don't really know what they're doing. It's whatever Trump said. Literally, if Trump said tomorrow, we are going to be friends with China, we're going to integrate, everything's going to be fine, a lot of MAGA people will be like, okay, I guess China's our friend now. Like, it really has turned into a cult. But anyway, let's look at Trump kissing ass to China.
True. I only say the truth. We're going to have a fantastic future together. Such respect for China, the job you've done. You're a great leader. I say it to everybody. You're a great.
Okay, so remember, a lot of these retarded MAGA are saying, hey, autocrats, dictators. Could I put Xi Jinping as a dictator autocrat? Yeah, I think I could. Same thing with Putin. So Trump now is saying this is good. Again, I wouldn't categorize China as communism, but it comes from the legacy of communism. So again, MAGA, communism is bad, socialism is bad. And we all know MAGA, unless they're hiding it, at least on face value, even MAGA says fascism is bad. Remember, even MAGA is like Nazism is so bad. So we're having a disconnect here with China. Why do I think Trump kisses ass to China? Money. It's the one thing. It's just about money. That's all. Let's keep going on this.
Leader. Sometimes people don't like me saying it, but I say it anyway because it's true. I only say the truth. And I just want to say on behalf of all of the great delegation that we have the greatest businessmen, the biggest, and I guess the best in the world. We have amazing people, and they're all with me. Every single one of them, we asked the top 30 in the world, every single one of them said yes. And I didn't want the second or the third in the company. I wanted only the top.
Okay, so we're going to do is a couple more kissing ass of Trump to China, which just makes, again, you've got to ask, what exactly, it was the same thing when I was in the military. Was Ukraine our ally? I guess Ukraine's our ally now. Like, we don't really know our relationships. And I said, as many times, it's wherever we're making money.
He's done in the United States, or the MSS has done.
I did, and he talked about attacks that we did in China. You know, what they do, we do too. It's like the spying. They're talking about, the spying. I said, well, we do it too. Look, no, I'm talking about spying. The question was asked to me yesterday, I guess. What about the fact that China's spying in the United States? I said, well, it's one of those things because we spy like hell on them too.
Two and a half more years, folks. Hi again, 5 o'clock in New York with a president like that.
We don't need to go through the whole thing, but we'll do one more clip. But I think people are starting to understand so many times and these are MAGA people. Remember, when I got out on social media, I focused always on MAGA because I thought that would be my base. That would be my support. It was unbelievable the amount of backlash I got. You're in China. You're with the enemy. You're with the traitor. You're a traitor. You're with the enemy. Okay. Well, let's see what Donald Trump says about China. And does that sound like the enemy, this evil communism? If you work with China, because they never mention anything about the corporation. So I said that even back then. I said, okay, so the American corporations can go to China, but they're not traitors, but an American citizen. Let's go see what he says here.
The market.
Take a listen.
We can't continue to allow China to rape our country. China's taking our jobs, our money. We've had a fantastic relationship. Such respect for China. We don't want you buying our land. We don't want you taking the land and basically taking it off the market. You want to see farm prices drop? You want to see farmers lose a lot of money? Just take that out of the market. There are about 31%, almost 31% of foreigners coming to Harvard. It's too much because we have Americans that want to go there. I could tell them, I don't want any students. It's a very insulting thing to say to a country. If you want to see a university system die, take 500,000 people out of it.
Okay. I've made this point before, and I've said it many times. I compare sometimes China to Israel. And I've said that there are Americans that are called these, Zionist, Christian Zionists. I believe they support Israel and the Jews for ideology. I don't really understand it. Hey, I could be wrong. Maybe they're right. I'm not a biblical scholar, but they're doing it not for the money. Most of the Americans that basically sold out America for Israel, it's all about the money. And guess what? It's the same thing in China. So why is all of a sudden Trump now saying China? Because Trump as a CEO works for the bosses. And who are the bosses? The corporations. And the corporations looked at him and said, listen, Trump, we make a ton of money off China and we want money. We don't care about America. They're globalists, but we need money. And Trump is like, oh, I'm a businessman too. Yeah, that's it. Because if you really look at all this ideology that we spit out in America, like this is evil, then we should not be in China. I've said many that we should not. Oh, and this comes from whether you're a liberal or you're a conservative, because both of you don't get China. The liberal person, I'm telling you, your liberal ideology, that's not China. But then again, for these MAGA people, like, yeah, it's all about America first and this and this and that. Well, then you shouldn't also be in China. Either way, like I said, let's do one thing though, but this is just showing you also the rising power of China. And you're just seeing it. America eventually is going to decline more and more and more. And the corporations and the elite, to save their bank accounts, they're going to depend more and more on China and non-Western countries at the expense of the Americans.
His strategic. This is the first time since World War II where a president has been in a room and it wasn't clear who the most powerful person in that room was. And that is a statement about how badly this president has mishandled his strategic calculations. He picked a trade war with China last year, lost it. Picked a kinetic war with Iran this year, lost it. And now his loss of power and prestige has been evident by the fact that he is in a room with a bunch of tech titans and Xi Jinping, and arguably all of them actually have more power and influence than he does over the grand current events that are dictating American life right now.
Well, I wonder if you feel that's why President Xi felt emboldened enough to warn that
Yes.
the issue of Taiwan could lead to direct clashes
Exactly.
with the United States. What does that make you think, Congressman?
Xi Jinping is feeling it. he's got a bit of a strut in his step because this president has been so chagrined by the last 18 months of foreign policy. He is basically talking down to United States president saying, don't mess with Taiwan. And you know what? Trump didn't have an answer. Trump didn't want to talk about it. He talked past it. He is not going to get the kind of economic rapprochement that he wants because Xi Jinping is buying for time right now, doesn't feel like he has to do it. And meanwhile, there are real festering problems. I represent Massachusetts. Chinese biotech right now is eating into U.S. global biotech dominance. They went from 0 to 100 miles per hour over the last 5 years. This president has no leverage to get the Chinese to pay more for new medicines and stop free riding off of our R&D, to have them stop expropriating our intellectual property, to have them adhere to top tier standards for their clinical trials, not accomplishing any of that because he just doesn't have the juice.
It's obvious. And what you're seeing is America is a corporation. Trump is a CEO. Everything is run by the money. And our economy is going to tank. We don't have any morals. So we'll work with North Korea. So again, in terms of all this bullshit that is spouted in America, unless you could say you're like me, and we'll get into it, a fascist, I don't have a problem with China. But I'm telling you, MAGA people, your ideology does not align to China. Liberals will do a final. Your ideology doesn't align to China. The only people's ideology that would align to China is go back to World War II and a guy named Adolf Hitler. If you look at a guy like Adolf Hitler and think, wow, those are National Socialists, I agree with those people. Then do business. Now, what China is interesting, though, and they'll tell their people, China, though, they will do business with anyone. They don't care. You're a capitalist, you're a communist, they don't care. Because they view as whatever you do in your country, we don't care. We just worry about ours. So that's there. But in our country, we like to spout these morals and ethics, and because we're the global superpower, that's bad, this is bad, that's bad. But at the end of the day, we'll do whatever it is for money. But if you really ask yourself, well, then, David, what political ideology is aligned to China? I just said it's Adolf Hitler and the neo-Nazis. Like, if you tell me where are the modern day Nazis, and I'm not saying this in a negative light, I could say in a bit of a positive light because I am a pro-National Socialist, and we're going to explain it here a little bit. So my ideology with China is fine. But if you're a National Socialist, you'll also understand what the difference is. I'm going to explain it here in two things. We got two interesting clips. These corporations in America are absolute dog shit. They will eat you up. The corporations in China, they serve the government and the government serves the people. However you can look at that, that's the way it is. These corporations are globalists. They don't serve the American people. We don't even know who these shareholders are. We don't even know if these shareholders are American citizens. So the Chinese corporations under National Socialism versus American corporations under globalism, it is night and day. Don't think so. This is Tucker Carlson talking to this guy, Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary. I think Kevin O'Leary is a piece of shit. I'm not into it. Why? That's not capitalism anymore. So that's not how it is in China under National Socialism. But if you're MAGA, you're like, man, I love these corporations. I love capitalism. They don't know what it is. This is our system. Tucker Carlson is on. Tucker Carlson has gotten better and better. I think because I said again, he's getting older. He doesn't care. He's got money. He doesn't need a job anymore. Something like that. And maybe he's getting more wise. But watch this interview with Tucker Carlson. And I'm telling you, these corporations are not our friends.
This, if it's a private business. Let me ask, though, about why taxpayers should have to pay for this if it's a private business and your tenants are some of the richest companies in the world. Why would taxpayers be required, as they now are, to subsidize this?
They don't necessarily have to do that. They just won't win any contracts. It's a competition.
But why are you getting tax breaks is my question.
Yeah, everybody, you go back and you say, what incentives can you give us to invest $15 billion in the first 1.5 gigs? That's what it takes. I have to go raise $15 billion.
Well,
that's just
okay, but anyone who starts a business, why should taxpayers have to pony up for that?
They don't. But
well, of course they do.
Others,
if you're getting a tax break and they're not, they're making up the difference. There's a state budget.
Hey, that's no problem. That's no problem. I can build it in Texas. I can build it in Jacksonville, Mississippi.
But why, if it's such a good business, would you be asking taxpayers to help pay for it without giving them equity in the company? Are you giving taxpayers shares?
No, the investors get the shares, but here's why they would do
But
it.
why would the taxpayers have to?
Well,
I mean, in other words,
I'm
if you
telling
want to
you
start a business, but why am I, as a taxpayer, forced to pay for it? Your business. I don't get it.
Okay, we're going to do one more video, same thing. And before we do it, remember the difference is these corporations that are going to get rich. Remember the Boeing Corporation? Remember the Boeing Corporation that makes a lot of their profits off you American taxpayers illegally terminated me being a whistleblower, and they replaced me with a Chinese national. This is Boeing. This is not a private. This is what I'm saying. This private capitalism, that's been dead decades ago. Just like when I worked for Amazon, these corporations are leeching off American taxpayer monies, changing the rules, laws, and regulations for their benefit so it's not free competition. And then when they get rich, well, they're globalists. They don't give a fuck about America. Why? Why should they give back? It's different in China. I've always said, who has the power in China? The government, not the corporations. What is in America? The corporations, and they're globalists. They don't care. Here's another video, same thing. Tucker Carlson's on it.
Expect them to weigh in too and take their complaints seriously and not just dismiss them as agents of
And
China.
you're right, but this has been going on. Incentives, state by state, in every sector happen, even real
It's
estate.
not incentives. It's a forced transfer of wealth from taxpayers to people who are richer than taxpayers. So, like,
no, they're not.
Of course, they have
you get a tax break to create 2,000 jobs, and the taxpayer wouldn't do it if it wasn't the long-term outcome.
The taxpayer has no choice. The taxpayer has no
choice.
choice.
They can say no. That's not what happened.
Well, they tried to say no to this data center.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. The taxpayer, the voter, yeah, we have choice. It's choice A or B, both run by the corporations.
And they got laughed at. And then the governor, Spencer Cox of Utah, who really is a kind of living symbol of our ruling class, said that the state has an obligation to do this, and basically, as you were doing, waved away concerns as like foreign propaganda, when I think they're probably non-crazy people who live in Utah are like, why is this good for me? Why should I pay for this?
It's fair. It's fair. All this is fair. How about we forget the data center and just talk about the power for a second? Because there aren't going to be any data centers in America unless we build power generation. Do you have the same visceral reaction to power generation as you do to data centers?
Inversely, I think we need more electricity in the United States. And I think
that's what I'm talking about.
Speaking of agents of China, in fact, if you're looking for agents of China, it's the people who told you that you could live without fossil fuels, that babies wouldn't die without fossil fuels. Babies will die without fossil fuel. Civilization will collapse without fossil fuel. And that right there is the foreign op telling us that, people are causing global climate change. People are not causing global climate change substantially. We're having global climate change, as we always have. But to blame it on natural gas is just a flat out lie. And a lot of rich Americans fell for that. So no, I'm strongly for energy. I'm just very concerned about replacing people, their purpose for living, which is to create, with machines. That seems like hell to me, literally hell. So I think it's fair to ask, like, how is this not hell? And no one has been able to answer it.
Yeah, I think trying to stop advancement of technology with the uncertainty it brings has always been a dilemma in capitalism and in America. And it's a fair comment.
But how is this capitalism? If taxpayers are paying for some of it, how is that capitalism? That seems...
I think that's no different than building an apartment building downtown in Austin. You can get incentives for that too, and that's just part of how it works. You can debate
How is that capitalism? How is that free market? If politicians are handing you other people's money to do it, how is that capitalism?
Well, capitalism is built into the Constitution, which I think was genius, because it couldn't even thought that far ahead, was the idea of competition between states. Why is there an exodus out of New York City to Miami, where I live? Why are people leaving New Jersey and Massachusetts and moving into my building? Nobody in my building is from Florida.
And I just want you to know that these capitalists, so-called, they'll leave America too if the price is right. You'll see it too. They don't care. It's the same reason that companies and even Americans, we think about it. When an American leaves a blue state, not saying I left America, but when an American, for instance, leaves a blue state, a lot of times too, it's economics, or they don't like it, When an American corporation relocates their headquarters from a blue state to a red state, they don't care. You're telling me you can't take the third step and say, why don't you just leave America altogether? And there are American corporations that have done it. So what does that mean? What brings us together? It just really is, well, if the economic situation is right, if the lifestyle is right, we'll stay in America. If not, we're gone. And that is. And that's why it's also a lie when Americans or companies like, we're in America because we just love it here. No, it's probably the economically best choice. If there was a better choice, they're probably going to leave and sort of then let them go. That's what I would say. But they're not doing it for patriotism. It's just the best economic price for them, and that's what it is.
Florida, they're all from other states.
I understand.
And all of these people moving, why? Because they're reaching retirement age, and the environment in these other states is not conducive to their lifestyle when they're being
But I think you're making my point for me. You just listed states that use a higher percentage of taxpayer dollars for private industry, and people are leaving those states. Illinois.
Wait a second.
California, New York.
New York is an inefficiently run.
It may be inefficient, but the principle that politicians can take the public's money and hand it to their friends in business, that's a longstanding practice in New York, California, and Illinois, and relatively uncommon in Florida. So people are moving to the free market state, but you're now saying that actually the beauty of capitalism is that politicians hand other people's money to their friends? That doesn't,
no, I'm not
the
saying
opposite
that.
of capitalism.
I'm saying that is incorrect. I didn't say that. I said what makes capitalism work is competition. And it does work. And it has worked for hundreds of years. And so the concept, you may not like the policy of.
The problem is these corporations, as we know, something like, give an example like Amazon, they're getting rid of competition. I've said many times, the small business entrepreneur now is just not able to compete anymore with these corporations. Because that's exactly what corporations want to do. They want to become a monopoly and kill out the competition because they infuse themselves through lobbying or whatnot in the government, through the laws, and they change it. But that's one element that is just dying in America. It's dying for decades, and that is we're losing that sense of a free market competitiveness because the corporations are becoming more and more of a monopoly.
Giving incentives for manufacturers and real estate. You may not like it, and I understand you don't, but you don't have to do it. A state can stop doing it, and then for a while, maybe they'll be less competitive in terms of getting new projects. I didn't make those rules up. I'm a football player on the field of capitalism. I have to play by the rules.
I get it. No, I get it. And I'm not attacking you for it. I'm just wondering, again, occasionally it's worth pausing and asking, are we doing the right thing, even if we've been doing it the same way for a long time? I'll ask just one final question. I'll stop torturing you, but do you see how other people find it unfair that one of the richest people in America, you, in league with the biggest companies in America, Amazon, Microsoft, et cetera, the ones you listed, that the richest people in our society would be taking money from people much poorer than them? That seems very unfair.
You know, Tucker, I'll speak for myself on this. I'm not motivated by money anymore. That is not why I get up and work 18 hours a day. I want to build something incredible. I want my legacy for my children to be something that they're honored by.
Right.
I want to compete against the Chinese. I don't like the Chinese government, in case anybody has known.
Oh, so this is all about the Chinese, but I thought the Chinese was good. No, it's bad. No, now it's back to bad. So he's doing this for the Chinese people. This is for the Chinese.
Noticed that over the last 5 years. I don't like how they treat their people. I don't like how they treat me in business. I simply don't like them. What's motivating me now with all of this barrage, this firestorm, which I understand you've experienced in the past, is I want to beat them in AI. I don't want them controlling the most advanced models, wherever that's taking us, because you bring up great points about the unknown in jobs and everything else. But I want to be part of the team that makes sure our way of life in North America remains the same for my children. I don't give a shit about money anymore. I don't need any more money. I've already been very successful. I'm very lucky, but I'm not finished.
Don't fool yourself. It's the same thing with Donald Trump. A lot of these successful businessmen say, I don't need money. There's many things, incentives that are in power where money's still there. These people like power. Now, the point is, if they're patriots, and this is for America, but I believe at the end of the day, these corporations, if you're an American citizen, I say again, I would be more worried about these globalist government and corporations taking away your faith, family, freedom than the Chinese government any day. Not even close. So the part is, and if he's so much into the Chinese or our enemies, then what did I keep saying? I'm sure you'd be the first one to say, because this is how they are. They're like, I'm a capitalist. I don't care who you are. As long as you're competitive, as long as you're smart, I'll hire you. I'm Chinese. He's hired. And I'm sure he will hire the Chinese to work for him, especially if they're cheaper and better. So this whole thing about patriotism and he doesn't need money, he's still on a power trip. He's made enough money. It's time to let other entrepreneurs in there. But the free competition is dead in America.
I'm very motivated to win. And if people want to compete with me, I want that. If they don't think my motivation is to beat the Chinese, they're wrong. I am going to beat them. I am going to show them these data centers. They're going to be this shining example of how you do this sustainably, because I'm the only guy that is graduated out of environmental studies and builds data centers. No one else on earth has done that.
Do you think, I love the idea. I'm for America above all. Do you think that Microsoft and Amazon and Google will do a good job preserving the American way of life? Are they substantially superior morally to the Chinese government? Do you think that? Those are your tenets?
Yes, I do. And in fact, I deal with
how. Tell me how is Google?
I say again, this is another reason my story doesn't want to get out. This Boeing Corporation, which you could also put in the book on Amazon, these corporations, what Boeing did to me as an American citizen, military veteran, I was up for a promotion. I was doing very well. I was turned into a whistleblower. And in 6 months later, over a pretext, I was illegally terminated. I had to depend on the Chinese government's court systems to get justice. If I didn't win that court in China, even though the American court systems have never written this in, I would be for the rest of my life labeled as whatever, sexual predator, whatever. I won. I sued Boeing in America, and the judge wouldn't even let my case go to court. Another thing, they don't want my story because we always put ourselves on superior ground with other countries, America, especially these non-Western, that we are the more moral, we are a country of laws, bullshit, not in my case. Fuck no. It was, my Chinese lawyer, he looked at this, he immediately said, he goes, wow, your company want to fire you. No evidence. He goes, you will win in this court in less than a day. Easy. We'll be out of this court in 3 hours. He goes, it is so obvious your company wanted you fired. There was zero evidence on me. And I thought if I could win in China, I'm definitely, and I spent $50,000 of my own money to sue Boeing in America. And that fucking judge, who's this feminist whore, who speaks all against the patriarchy, white men are racist, she colluded with Boeing because Boeing wanted my case thrown out because Boeing knew I would win in court. I didn't even, so it wasn't as if I even lost in a case. Boeing colluded with the judge, and the judge would not even allow me to present my course, arbitrarily handed victory to Boeing. An American military veteran has to depend on China for fucking justice. And this Kevin O'Leary, who's from fucking Canada, never served in the American military, is going to lecture me about American values and protecting. Why don't you, Kevin O'Leary, you fucking faggot, have your kids serve in the military, and then you could kill the Chinese in the military, right? If China's such a threat, you motherfucker. These people suck. Same thing with Trump and his rich kids about the wars. If Trump thought Iran was such a fucking threat, he'd say, Barron, you little faggot, you're going to join the military today. You're going to the front lines. You're going to kill those fucking sand niggers in Iran. He's not going to do that because they don't give a fuck. All they care about is making money. This Kevin O'Leary is a piece of shit. I'm telling you, I have no problem with people becoming rich. I'm a capitalist. This is no longer capitalism in America. This is global cronyism, corporate cronyism. Let's finish this video. We got one more video.
Why? I was talking with the guy yesterday that does is doing the build outs all around the world for Google's data centers. They are on incredible sustainable mission. They are looking at every technology to reduce their need for traditional power sources. And we were talking about the campus in Utah. They have some very advanced thinking on the use of battery, wind, and solar. And so they want to do that. Why? Because their customers want that.
But wait a second. China leads the United States in battery, wind, and solar in development of those technologies.
Yeah. That's such it's a great story, but not in data centers. They don't. They're powering.
But hold on. Jumping around a little bit. Yeah. I'm just trying to ask. Okay, so you say you want to preserve the American way of life. That's why you're building this. My question was, okay, well, your tenants are these big companies that are not really American companies, they're publicly traded companies that are owned by the sovereign wealth funds of tons of countries around the world. In what sense are they American companies? In what sense do they have American values?
These people are globalists. Now, we're going to look at one quick clip about China. This is before about the racism. This is the other side, though. This is where some liberals or whatever say, we need to be more like China. They're socialists. It's great. Okay. But I just want you to know, China is an ethno-state. So this whole thing about diversity, it doesn't happen in China. This is, again, if you're a liberal and you look at Nazi Germany as the most evil empire around, well, guess what? There's going to be things about China you don't like, because I'm telling you a lot of it. But the level of racism, China is an ethno-state, meaning the Chinese government and the Chinese people and the Chinese economy, everything, it is for the Chinese people first. Second, it would be for Chinese people around the world, even if you're a Chinese American. So if you're not of the Chinese ethnicity, it's not going to be your home. I'm just saying, which is fine by me. Then I want to go to my own home. This is what I'm saying. I think white people should be able to do this and whatever. But I just want to caveat that, because I see a lot of these liberals and socialists like, I love China. It's so great. So I'm against racism, but I like China. Those two things are going to work together, people.
And I am very qualified. Chinese schools are openly requesting white teachers when it comes to hiring. Of course, not every school is like this, but unfortunately, too many of them are like that. And I've been in China for a little over 2 years, and I am very qualified. I've been teaching for over 7 years now, and I'm half black. And even I have these issues. Anyone who's not white, whether you're black, Hispanic, Asian, anyone who's not white is going to have a harder time when it comes to searching for jobs teaching in China, and you need a lot more patience. I recommend having several recruiters, like more than 3, 5, have as many as you can, because unfortunately, schools are more picky these days, and unfortunately, race is a factor. If you are not white and you are either in this situation or you are trying to mentally prepare yourself for this situation and want to know how to go about searching for a job in China, then click the link in my profile and see how I can help.
So what I want to do, it's just there's so many of these clips, but a lot of these liberals don't get it. China is an ethno-state. I could go into the different races, but he's right. If you're going to be a foreigner, like a non-racially Asian person, it's best to be a white person. End of story. But don't fool yourself. Picture a white person in some ways as a guest, but they give you a little bit of a VIP treatment, but you're a guest. There's some white people in China. It's usually white guys. Let's face it. At the end of the day in Asia, when I see now, I'm not including the other. They look upon other Asian people in China as a little bit of their extended family. Think of Vietnamese, Thai, like Asian extended. They don't give them VIP treatment at all, but it's sort of like, I don't know, the cousins and the nephews that have arrived. But if you're really going to be a foreigner, the best is to be a white person. It's usually having to be a white guy. So you'll get a VIP treatment, but you will always be a foreigner. I want to end the video now. I don't want to talk too long, but I do know, and it's very dangerous and it's just very retarded. Some white guys, they'll marry a Chinese woman, and this happens too with other Asian countries. They'll marry the Asian woman, they'll live there, they'll have their mixed kids, and they'll make the dangerous assumption that this is their country now. And I'm telling you, they could find themselves in a lot of trouble where they sort of start imposing themselves as this is my country too. And no, it's not. I never had that problem because I always knew I was going to be a guest. So the point being is I don't have any problems with that in China. What I do have a problem with is there's a lot of fake propaganda going on also with the liberal side. So here's retarded MAGA and retarded liberals. Retarded liberals in America are anti-racism. We know that. Anti-racism. They want multi-diversity. They want to help black people, like whoever. And then they say China's great. You'll see some of these liberals on there. China's great. Well, I wouldn't want to be a black person in China. That's number one. And I'm telling you, China is probably one of the most racist countries I've lived in. It is only for the Chinese. So there's a disconnect there, meaning China's great and I'm totally against racism. Well, those two don't work together. Then you've got the MAGA people, and the MAGA people are like, communism is evil, China's our enemy. You hear this. And then what I see it all the time with these globalist corporations, it's all about the money. They love China. What happened to Kevin O'Leary, he got burnt his deals with China. I'm not going to disagree with that. These China will fucking burn you. I mean, these people are ruthless when it comes to business. But those are apples and oranges. At the end of the day, in America, these globalist countries, China, I say again, the corporations in China serve the Chinese government. And the Chinese government is fascist, which means they put their people and their country first. Our corporations, which are getting loaded with your tax money included, they're globalists. They have no loyalty. Kevin, what is he talking about? Oh, yeah, me. Oh, sure. So Kevin O'Leary is going to say, I'm a patriot. What then? Google's not? Microsoft's not? Same thing. These people at the end of the day in America, these corporations rule over our government, and they really don't care about America. They really don't. And if they did, I could tell you something in my situation. Now, well, I'm sure Kevin O'Leary, if I went to him and said, hey, can you connect me with a politician? Meaning patriotism is dead in America. In a fascist country, patriotism is very high. Hopefully that added some value. We'll see where it goes. But at the end of the day, what did I keep saying? MAGA is going to collapse. Why? Because I said America is going to collapse. And why is America going to collapse? Because it's adopted these globalist principles for decades and decades. What has MAGA done? It's deviated. It came across as nationalism in the beginning. It has deviated more and more. And I mean, you might as well just call it Israel first now instead of America first. It's just deviated. And it just makes me realize again, who really runs the show in America? It's those who have the money, which is, again, that's a major difference in a place like China. It doesn't matter if you're a billionaire in China. You don't go up against the government. Is that the perfect system? Probably not. But I'm telling you, if you want to have a nation, you need to have nationalism. We don't have a nation. Why? Because we're globalists. And sooner or later, globalism will usurp the nation and the nation's gone. Why? Because people like Kevin O'Leary and all these corporations, they don't have a nationalist ideology. They're globalists. For the same reason they went to China groveling like pathetic people like America. We're so arrogant who we are, America, but we're realizing we're a declining empire and we travel all the way. It was embarrassing, by the way, meaning there's nothing wrong going to another country and being subservient or being submissive or recognizing someone's higher. I get that. But it's different when you're the arrogant America and you always say, we're the best, man. We're the toughest. We're the best of the best. And then you go to China like, can I please have money, daddy? Like, whoa, wait a minute. Didn't you keep saying America, we're the best, we're the toughest, we're the strongest? And China, communist, socialist, it doesn't work. They're the enemies. It didn't work, people. I'm telling you, if you have common sense, you're like, that doesn't make sense. Unless you think it's all about the money. It's all about the money. Why? Because these corporations, at the end of the day, they really don't care about America. They are globalist corporations as long as they can make money. This is David Baumblatt from Terrabin Leadership. I appreciate your time. I've been on social media now coming on for almost 3 years. Not one politician has yet to answer me. None. We're going to see what this guy, I'll keep this, Joe Paget. A lot of the people are very nervous to talk with me. So now I've got Joe by email. I forgot his last name, but he's got a reasonable talk show. And again, I don't even need an interview with Joe. Not even it. I guarantee Joe has an email address of a congressman, senator, or one of their staff. And I said, Joe, I will CC you or I will BCC you and show you they're not responding to me. and then maybe you could help me get in contact, or then put on your program, something like that. If he wants to interview me, absolutely, I'll be on there in a heartbeat. But really the goal is the politicians, because again, what do I keep saying? Part of the reason why the American empire is collapsing is more and more of our systems are not working. We see it. Even what happened with Thomas Macy and with this guy Ed, the amount of money that was thrown to run these elections, meaning this country's been bought and sold. Our systems aren't working. And you're telling me 3 years now, a military veteran, I cannot even get one politician or someone from the Trump administration who they know about me, they block me, to communicate with me. And then we're going to say, systems are working fine. More and more Americans, it's going to happen to you. And guess what you're going to say? Why do I pay taxes anymore to this? That's why I don't. I mean, think about it. I am not welcome back in America. Well, if I'm not welcome back in America, then why would my tax money be welcome back in America? It doesn't make sense. And I'm telling you, you're going to see more and more of these systems are not working. You're going to question, why do I pay tax money? But anyway, this guy, Joe, we'll see him. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't think it's going to work because I've seen this so many times. But at the end of the day, he still hasn't reposted a message. Just repost, Joe. Hasn't even done that. Why? Are you scared? Are you lazy? Just repost. That would just be something. But either way, let's see if he interviews me, number one, or just forget it. Don't even interview. Just get me an email, because that way he could be CC'd and he could see with his own eyes, and then take that to him and say, yeah, something is wrong with this. But anyway, I'll keep you informed how that goes. Until then, David Baumblatt from Terrabin Leadership. I appreciate the support. Patriots, lead to victory.